Like I said, we went to Africa, and we want to get testimony on tape of what happened while we were there. Your experience and what God has done for you or is doing with you now that you've come back. So I think this is actually the wrapping up of the trip, because the way the heavens opened up. I've seen this one other time. So I'm going to yield to you guys. You can go first, DeJuana.
I don't really know what to say about it, because it was different than I expected, mainly because I didn't really know what to expect. And in going, what we found was a place where the Father's love needed to be poured out into a culture that deals mostly with protocols and performance and doing things right to be blessed, and that this is just something they've dealt with all their lives, that they're very Christian there, is what I felt, and they're very Christian, but but the Lord is wanting to break into that old way of seeing His love with a new way of being loved. And I think that a big part of our underlying assignment while we were there, at least this is what I felt, was the love that the Father has for them is not conditioned on what they do or don't do. It's conditioned on His heart for them. And as they began to understand that blessing doesn't come with conditions, it comes out of the Father's heart for them. For me personally, I could feel the heavens open up over that even as the people came up and they had such hard stories when we would minister to them. We ministered every day for several hours, one-on-one in teams, with an interpreter. And that was fun. But you heard so many hard things. And the minute that the Father's love broke into that place and said, this is not what He had for you. And we would deal with things like the witchcraft. We would deal with things that were broken. We would just forgiveness, whatever happened that the Lord would bring up. The most important thing was them to experience His love in that place, and something new that they'd never seen before began to be born in their hearts. And so we weren't really responsible for the fullness of what the Lord was going to do. We were only responsible to put a place in their heart where they could see something different than what their culture and their normal was. So it was a birthing place, and for me personally, I was amazed by their joy in the hardship, because they have hard lives. I came back here and went, man, I am so blessed. We were just talking about that. I will not be complaining anytime soon, because the blessing that we walk in here is amazing from the Father. And so anyway, for me, it was about that, the opportunity to just experience their joy and their desire. They had such a deep, deep desire for more. They were hungry. They just sucked it out. They were so hungry to be well, to know the Father, to understand, to walk in the heavens. I mean, they don't want to walk here. They want to walk there. And that was part of what we did as well. So for me, I came back and went, wow. I don't know how to process what happened. I've been processing it. It didn't all go the way that I thought it would, but yet as I've walked and talked with the Father about it, He told me that, He knew exactly what He was doing when He sent the four of us. He knew exactly what He wanted to do to open up a new place in the culture that was there. And so even though it wasn't all exactly like I thought, I came back going, wow, you use everything, Jesus. You use it all. And so it's built a new place of wondering in my own heart and understanding that we can't figure it all out. And it's okay not to know. It's just okay to be and to love and be yourself wherever you go. Out of that comes whatever God has for the people around you. So I'm sure there's more that could be said. But I don't know what to say.
Wow, I don't know if I can say anything better than that.
Yes. She always says that right before she says the most amazing thing that comes in the room. That's what she says every time. She gave the teaching of, on favor. She taught on favor.
No, I didn't talk on favor.
Yes, you did.
No.
Yes, you did.
When?
The last teaching.
No, that wasn't favor.
Yeah, it was.
It was,
Not favor, not favor, not favor, not favor. Wait, not favor, not favor. Honor, 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 honor. It was really favor and honor. But it was honor, honor.
It was honor, but I'm going to honor this
Honor.
wonderful woman
Honor.
next to me that can't remember what I was talking
I
about.
know. That's the favor of God on me. That my friend loves me even when my brain doesn't work. And that's something that happens once in a while. So, but honor was the teaching. Let me just say it again. It was the one. And I'm glad I could be comic relief for this little testimony time.
Do you want to do mine?
No.
Okay.
But I wanted them to know because I don't think you would say it.
No,
I don't think
I would
you
not
say
have
it.
said that. She's right. It wasn't what we expected entirely, and all I can say is thank God for air conditioning in the hotels. It was midsummer there. It was interesting. The first moment that I said yes to coming to the trip, my life started changing quite a bit. A lot of stuff started getting stirred up, and it was a very challenging 2 months after that until the trip. And I thought, okay, I've broken through whatever was messing with me, and then got there on the trip, and no, not exactly. But anyway, so there was a lot of challenges personally for me, but the Father still spoke through us. And when we got there, it's a different culture for sure. And when we got there, they asked us to come and pray over the congregation, and then we taught the next day. And the pastor came over later and said, it was a great revelation to me about having a relationship with the Father. And that just kind of blew me away. I thought everybody knew that having a relationship with the Father was very important. But this was the senior pastor saying this. So what we brought was the Father to them and introduced them to some kingdom things, the courts, 7 spirits of the Lord, the garden of the heart, just some other kingdom things to them it just kind of blew their minds. They just kind of looked like they were in a daze when they looked at us, but that might have been the communication. But the funny thing is that it is an English-speaking country, and when we were ministering, we would have an interpreter to help us interpret English to English. Nigerian English to our English was very different. And so we needed an interpreter for English. Just thought that was funny.
It's true.
But I tell you, their faith is incredible. And I was talking to the senior pastor's wife, and she said that's all they have. They don't have options. All they have is faith. And their stories really are very challenging to hear. And it just makes you very grateful, but it also makes you just want to love on them and just help them get to a place where they don't have to live the way they live. But certainly everyone that I prayed for healing, except one, walked away better. Every single one. And the funny thing is we did it so gently, they were shocked that, I do feel better. You're not yelling at me. You're not beating it out of me. They were very forceful. They're actually a very passionate people, and they're very passionate in their ministry. And it's a little what we would consider harsher. And so when we would do it very gentle, it would kind of surprise them that something so glorious from the Father would come in such a gentle way. But coming back, it was, I don't know how to process it either. I do know that I'm at a different place and that the Father is changing my whole world now. And I'm just waiting back and seeing what this beautiful mess is going to turn out to be. But it is going to be something gorgeous, I know that. I'm glad we went. I'm glad Stephen asked us to come. And I know Stephen has gotten a lot of testimonies about coming after that. And we still have a relationship with a lot of the lady pastors there. So we're still feeding them and talking to them and communicating them, helping them through with things that they have never been taught that we consider as normal here. So.
Well, I didn't have really any expectations. Didn't know what was going on, but thought we'll just see what happens. It was very interesting to see the passion of the people before we got to know them, just when we first went into the service. And you could just tell, I mean, the singing, the passion, and everything that was going on was pretty amazing. And then as we ministered to these people and learned more about their travails and day-to-day lives, it was even more amazing that given what they were dealing with day-to-day, the passion that they still had seeking for the Father. And as Lisa said, the pastor, it was surprising in some ways, his view of things and the enlightenment that he received through the teaching of especially DeJuana and Lisa as they went through this. As far as what I got out of it, I'm still processing. I'm not really sure. We made some very close friends. I had a birthday last week, and I got a song. One of the ladies who kind of led the worship called up and left me a voicemail singing happy birthday, and from Nigeria, which was a unique experience. So when I called and talked to her and got a blessing from her, and then I got a blessing from 2 or 3 of the other people that were there. And so we definitely made some connections, and we definitely touched some people. And I think we touched the pastor, and I think through him it will move further and further through the community. It's a hard area. It's a hard life. It certainly made me rethink everything about how blessed I am, and what I whine about is pretty insignificant. And just to appreciate everything that we have here and we take for granted. So it will be changing me even more as I process through this. But it was a great experience. As Lisa described, it was a labor of love. It was not a vacation. It was hard at times. It was a labor of love, and I'm very glad we went.
I'm glad y'all went too. This was my second trip, so for me, it was good to hear the testimonies. It's been 5 years since I'd been there, and to be able to go back and hear testimony after testimony of people I'd long forgotten. I just went in, ministered, and how it changed their lives. That really touches me still today. And we've been back for a month, and I've gotten several. I got another 5 or 6 testimonies the day before yesterday of the things that have happened while we were there. But it was especially joyful for me to watch y'all's journey in some ways. I mean, to watch you, I saw the Holy Spirit come on you in a new way. You would just shake. And I could it's like the Spirit would just light on DeJuana like a butterfly, and she'd go, and it'd kind of back off, and she'd be like up and down. But to watch him, Lisa's like, very delicate and quiet, but bam, bam, hammer. And to watch Jay prophesy, that was cool. To be able to minister in a group, I learned a lot. It was definitely not what I expected, but actually, when we were sitting here a while ago, I actually prophesied what would happen before I went. In my notes, I said the Lord was sending us, but there would be opposition from people in leadership. And we had a little bump right at the end, but I do have some good news on that too. Anita told me yesterday that he said, I should have known better. I should have known the enemy. They came here to bless us, and then I let the enemy come in at the end.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
That's really good.
yeah, because I got in a little tiff with the head pastor the day we were leaving, and I learned a lot on this trip. The Lord, it was new for me to put a trip together and to be without my wife. She usually does a lot of the things that I had to do this time, and I quite frankly just fell on my face with some of it. I just didn't do well at all. It helped me realize that I take some of the things I take for granted that my wife does for me, or does for the ministry that she wasn't there to do, and having these guys there to help along with that, and I appreciate that very much. I also learned that I'm not the only voice in a room. There's more people. So it was the Lord reaching into me and healing some things in me. But it was very encouraging to watch you guys come and to watch the progression of how the blessing. So, and the Father told me when we left, I knew him when our assignment was done. He said, "Good job, well done," and I felt that. And I didn't feel like that when I was leaving. I was, cried for 2 flights in, but it's rough. You don't realize how attached you are to people. Even now, it's hard to. I wanted to come home, but it's hard to leave people there that are so desperately want change, and we have, what they want here, and we take it for granted. So I thank the Lord for where we live and how we live, and that we were born into this nation. It's definitely a privilege. A couple of things that I wanted to mention was they still have dowries there where you have to pay for your wife. They pay for whatever they have to pay to get the dowry, pay to get the price, and then pay the price. And there's a gentleman named Monday. Hello, Monday. He drove, and he has a bride, and we were able to pay the dowry for him, so he can go ahead and get married. And that life's changed. Yeah, that was amazing. There's a few other people. I wish we could have paid everybody's dowry, but we don't have that kind of money. And then there was a lady that I'd ministered to. I told you about this yesterday. That really bothered me. She came up. She was an older woman. She had a son that lived in Germany. Had been there for 10 years. He wasn't taking care of his mom. He's got a ton of money. Came back, even sold the house she was in. The house after his father died. Anyway, I prayed for her, and then we blessed her. She was on a cane that day too. She got prayed for. She threw her cane down. She's not walking on that anymore. It's actually Linda's grandma. And then I got a testimony yesterday that her son called and apologized to her. He's coming home from Germany and is going to put his mom up in a house. And yeah. So it's amazing that to see that when we pray, I don't think twice whether it's going to happen or not. The same way I am here. I just pray for you and believe it's going to happen. But to actually see the outworking of that. So many times we pray for just the people close to us, and we're praying for the same thing over and over because we're not seeing breakthrough. I think it's refreshing though to be able to go somewhere and you pray for a ton of people. I pray for people all the time, and it's amazing that I'm still amazed at what God does as the testimony after testimony comes. And I know it's not me; it's just my faith connecting with His faith and yours. We're praying for to bring out of heaven the thing that you need. Transitioning. We're transitioning into it's a new place of leadership. God's called us to. And after stewarding something for so long and saying yes, I saw a call go out And those that had ears to hear, you were amongst those, heard and began to move in sonship. And that's the season. I don't even want to call it a season. It's a lifestyle that God is moving us into. We're supposed to be sons. And so our Father is actually bringing us into that order, the order of Melchizedek. And He's really opened that up to me, especially in the last 2 weeks, about what it means to be a son in the kingdom. What are the responsibilities? What does it look like? And so I'm watching this, and I'm like amazed at, man, they're trying to dig this out for so long. It's very simple, really, and it's always been in the Word, but I've overlooked it. I'll put it that way. And I know the Word, pretty well, I feel like, because it's in me too. He planted in me. But as the Lord takes and rolls back the veil upon another veil upon another veil, I mean, the Word is veiled to us. It's the glory of God to conceal a matter, the glory of kings to search it out. So as I search and begin to press in, the Lord pulls back the veil and takes me a layer deeper into what's already been written. And I don't have to worry about the translation I'm in. I used to do that too, okay. But God is good. He's able to work through any translation that you may be reading, and some of them are grossly wrong. I mean, I was amazed at some of the translation as I've gone back and looked for myself. And I think that's the point. We need to, take responsibility instead of having somebody just talk to us. It's good that we fellowship this way, but you really need to go look for yourself. I can't convince you, because God's shown me some things that if I told you, you'd think I was a heretic. But Jesus, they called him that too. They called him a heretic. But they absolutely make sense to me. And I understand that the progression of the walk that we have, and I'm sure you're all in the same boat I am, as he rolls or peels back a truth to show you a deeper truth that brings you into a closer relationship and intimacy about who he is, how he operates, and what our responsibility is. And that he's truly a father of love. He loves you. And he's not a hard taskmaster, and the things that he asks us to do, they're for our good. The fences that, Torah, it's a fence. It's a protective fence. I found out in the last 2 weeks there's the book of the law and the book of the covenant, the book of promise. I didn't see the distinguishing between the two until I went back and he showed it to me. I'm like, wow. And we're going to talk about that in the days ahead, but this all stemmed from being obedient, going, doing the hard thing. Not anybody will just go do what we did. It was hard. It was a hard trip. And if God asked me to go again, I'd go again. I'd probably be a little bit, I'll come on more. But somebody's got to go, right? And if I'm truly not my own, then you gotta go. And we just trust that the Lord will take care of the rest, and not giving room or not gossiping about the thing that happened, because it hurt my heart leaving that way. Leaving all the way that we did. But it was two kingdoms that clashed. The Lord showed me that we brought a kingdom that opposed the kingdom that he was setting in. So we should expect those things. For me, I don't like confrontation. When you can just show love and just get along with people. I'd rather not, get in a fight with somebody. But that's just not my way, and it's not Father's way either. But the Lord's teaching me about righteous indignation. I keep hearing him say that, righteous indignation. He does the same thing. So he finally had to quit apologizing for the end, because he saw it before we did, and actually he's the one that caused it to work for his glory, because now he's worked on both ends. So there's so many other things in the days ahead that are going to come about. But you guys got to know that you're elevated in the Spirit. You walk in a place now that we didn't walk in even a month ago. But there's a responsibility that comes with what we do. And everybody has a responsibility, right? I mean, if we don't take responsibility as a son, then what are we doing? We're just playing church. So I believe we're in an hour where it's time to get serious about our faith, serious about why we're here, and get busy doing those works, because there's work to do. So I know that the Lord has instructed me about sonship school, and I know He's instructed y'all too. So imagine, and I know that this was a hard trip, but the first one is always the first fruits to the Lord. And I put this thing. I put this thing before the Lord as a first fruit, and He should have seen his face. He said, there won't always be this hard. So I'm like, we're going to go to, Hawaii. Send me to Hawaii, Lord.
Tahiti people really need us.
See, there you go. But although it's hard, we took ground for the kingdom, the real kingdom, not the false kingdom. And it was. Again, I'm still sorting through some things and really don't know, what else we could say. There's much we could say, but for me personally, I learned a lot about myself, about what I need to do to improve as I walk in this place with the Lord. So I need to continue to be humble and that just doesn't leave any room for the enemy. So it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay not to know, because I'm in an environment where I can be open and say I'm sorry, or you can tell me if I'm messing up, and I'll just say, hey. And we all should be that way. If we're gonna learn and grow from each other, and it's really what it is, we all carry something that we need from each other. And I know more now than ever that it's not one person. God works better in a group than He does in singularity. And that's really about kingdom. Kingdom is about us, not about me. It's about them and us, and coming together, and drawing from each other, leaning on each other, learning from each other, admonishing, correcting each other, and being able to have that environment so that we can grow. And that's an environment that I believe I have, and and I need. So. It's good to be humble. It's good to be humbled.
I was going to ask, if each one of you has to say, what was the most amazing thing that you either saw or did while you were there? And coming home doesn't count.
Oh, man.
It wasn't that meal on the plane that was so amazing.
I can tell you the funniest thing was on the plane when people were going by us. We're on a flight. Jay and Lisa are on this side, DeJuana and I are right here, and the people are filing by, and then the line slows down, and I look at this lady, and she's like, I knew we stunk. Man. It's okay. Go plug it in. My son Samuel. So yeah, that was funny. I'm like, I know we stink, Lord. So I'll let DeJuana go first here.
No. Let's see. Wow. I don't know.
Just pick one.
Just pick one. Why don't you go first then?
While I was praying ahead of time before we left, the Father kept showing me this one lady that got everything that we brought. And when we realized who it was, because she came the second day after we talked about the courts, and she goes, I've been going to the courts, and I've gotten this and this, and it's usually people just don't pick it up that well. I mean, it's particularly when the English to English is a challenge already, and everything we taught on, she exercised or practiced or did that very next night or that day, and she actually got a glimmer. She's the catalyst there. She's the catalyst at that church. And she is wanting to leave. She wants to come to the States. But she knows that right at this moment she's a catalyst for the church, because she caught the kingdom stuff in the Father's heart more than anybody that I've noticed. To me, that was one of the most amazing things.
I guess the most amazing thing to me was not really just one thing. I think for me, the amazing thing was what happened when we were ministering one-on-one with people, was that they would sit down in one state of mind or heart, in one place that was generally a broken place, and what would happen really every time, I can't think of any time that it didn't happen, was that in the spirit realm you could feel a shift happen as they grabbed on to whatever the Lord was giving them. And in that moment, their face would change. And you could see the seed begin to go deeper into their heart. And I'm a hugger. So I hugged everybody that we ministered to. And so much so that one of the folks that were interpreting with me, she says, "You touch the people." And I said, "Yes, I touch them because the Father is touching them. And I want them, to have that feeling of their arms around them." But it was seeing the work that the Father did every single time, and being able to understand that we sprinkled seeds throughout Nigeria, because many of these folks were going to go somewhere else after this. The Father brings people together so he can scatter them throughout the culture and the country. And so even the folks that would be what we would consider to be just everyday people like you or me, they all had an assignment, and you could see them grab onto that. So for me, that was an amazing thing to watch every single time, that the Father's work was done according to his plan every single time, person by person. So.
At the end of the week, the pastor had the congregation come up and bless us. And that was humbling. But the thing that stood out to me is Lisa and I ministered to these people together, and one of the young men who had come up to us was having a hard time with his family. His wife had left him and taken their child, and his in-laws were speaking against him, and his business was going down, and he was just suffering through a lot of depression. And Lisa had some great words for him. And the last day, there was a huge crowd in front of us, and he couldn't get to us, but he was kind of third row back, and he kept saying, "It's happening already, and I wrote you a letter," and you've got the letter that he had handed to us about the changes that were occurring. And so that was amazing, just to see it right there immediately. And he was just radiant. He was happy. That was such a change.
For me, there's like DeJuana, there's so many things that happen. I talked to you a long time about testimony, just watching God do stuff. It's like stepping out of yourself and going, "Wow, God just uses you." But one of the most amazing things is, like you said, Jay said, they were blessing us, and I always ask the Lord, "Lord, what do I do with this?" They bring money. They brought money to us that day, and different things, and so I gathered all that up and asked the Lord what He wanted me to do with it. And the Monday, the gentleman that I was telling you about, that we paid his dowry, the Lord told me to give it to his fiancée for a wedding dress. So they came to visit me, so to be able to give somebody like it's almost a year's salary, and being able to actually take what we had, because our dollar goes a long way there. So it's like being a rich man in a poor country. I was able to just, to bless, and that's really amazing. Not just, a little here, a little there. It was, life-changing for when you give somebody 5,000 or 10,000 naira, when they make 3,500 naira a week. To be able to do that was, there's a little backstory. Her name is Goodness. Thank you. Goodness is her name. And anyway, she, her father passed away, and she was telling me about that. But the Lord, I guess I knew about the day before, and so for her to get, and that's I guess who was going to walk her down the aisle, and but I actually got to see her father in heaven when I was ministering to her, and he told me something about her that only she knew, so she didn't know it was him. That was pretty amazing, and that he would be with her when she got married. So, heaven's very real, and sometimes that offends people, but I'm not going to stop talking about, the realm that we came from, and because that's where we're going, right? It's where we came from. That's where we're going back to. It's a privilege actually to walk on the earth, to have a body and a voice, to have authority to bring the kingdom, to bring Eden back, is what it is, and so yeah, that was pretty amazing. And then watching you guys, that was pretty amazing too. Watching Jay prophesy, that was good. He's like, yeah,
it's a bit of stretch.
Yeah, but you did great.
It was good.
You did great. And watching these guys on stage, I was really proud of them. I knew it was tough. It was tough on our bodies. I think we all kind of got sick, except for you, right?
No, I didn't.
You didn't get sick? I did. I drank some ice. I should have not. Is this made from? It's made out of bottled water. Yeah, I paid for that. Mercy. But the honor too. It's. I don't know about you guys. I felt such honor from them. When they come, they treat you like a king. Even to the point where I stopped and asked them, why aren't y'all eating with us? They'd take us places to eat, but they wouldn't eat. That I found out they'd spend their money for us to eat where they wouldn't be able to eat. I know that just, whoa. So I'm like, man, here, you're eating with us now, We broke protocol and their protocol and tradition every chance I could get, because the Father's not that rigid. There's an overwhelming theme, and you guys could probably speak to this too. Every girl wanted I think every woman that stepped in front of me asked me about her husband. One of y'all want to talk about that culture? I know you hate it. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. It's almost as if you go back in time in our time when it was expected for you to be married by age 25. And if you're not, something's wrong with you, and you're going to be an old maid, and life's going to be miserable. All that's what's on them now. And so, I think I hit my level at one point because one lady came up once again. I want a husband, and I said, I can't even remember what I said. I can't remember. Dude, I just said, I can't even remember, but I just said, you want the right husband. I want a husband. I said, honey, you want the right husband? If you get the wrong husband, you won't like your life. And I said, I don't care what age you are when you get it. If you get the right husband, it's the right thing. Forget about this 25 years thing. I just started getting on her, and she's like, I don't know. I'm 25. I need a husband. It was like, no, cut that stuff off. Anyway, I felt bad for him. But I did hit my limit.
You can tell too.
Poor people.
And guys, I take it very seriously, the gifting that the Lord has given me, and I've been diligent to develop that gift. So I don't make any apologies for that. I see very well, but I paid a price for that. But it's just humbling to be able to go and be able to see into things that the Lord allows me to see. I mean, from dates, people, right people, wrong people, whatever is going on. So I don't take that for granted, and I thank the Lord for that. And even all of us, as we move into a higher place, you share that same. We have the same opportunity now, or we drink from the same well. It's pretty amazing anointing that we can draw from now. As we cycle through, I don't want to forget where I came from. We want to disciple people that are discipling people and not do it for them. So the challenge for me is not to be the voice of God for you. That would be, the Lord wouldn't be happy with me. And so transitioning out of just prophesying to people all the time, we want to mix that with, which I think the Lord, there's a place for that. It's necessary, but we want to teach you how to see too, and then do it in a little bit different way, like in a group. And I'm going to ask you guys tonight, after we take a break, to come back and kind of do what we did while we were there. Minister to people. It takes, four heads are better than one. 4 different interpretations. I noticed that as we worked together, it's like having a full plate. You're not just getting chicken; you're getting chicken, rice, beans, and corn. So, you get the whole meal. And I noticed how you have a different perspective, and sometimes it just needs to come from a different way. And so I appreciate that. I'm learning to appreciate that even more. Y'all have anything else you want to add to that? No. So again, I want to honor these guys and thank them for coming. I know it was hard. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I hope this is the first of many trips, which I'm sure it will be, because I've already seen some things. But it won't, hopefully it won't be as hard, but it'll certainly be as glorious as we begin to move, because we have a responsibility now that we can move into to train folks to show them what God's love looks like. And that's really what we do, is you go and just I feel like the value that's in me for somebody else is the love of the Father that's in me. That reflection of my relationship with Him, I hope is what comes through if I come and sit before anybody. That when we leave, they feel loved. And I feel like if we could do that, if we can come into each other's presence and leave feeling loved, then the Father's going to be happy. We can put our differences aside, and there's enough of that in the world around us, right? It's time to start drawing on the good things in each other, and change the way we speak. We're so bad about judging with our eyes and seeing things and just making pop judgments or whatever. And the Lord's really showed me in this hour. I was in the heavens and I was looking at some of it looked like chaos, and then there were places that were that look ordered. And I'm like, what is that, Lord? He said, those are words that were spoken against people's destiny. These are words that lined up with what I spoke, and I'm like, wow, that's all those words didn't, disappear. every word we've ever spoken is still out there. I was like, oh no. I talk a lot. So it's actually about substance, but the Lord showed me 10 years ago in my life, and then 10 years before that, and 10 years before that, I saw the sea of it was like a black bubbling ooze. And then I saw 10 years later where pollution got cleaned up, and then now I saw where he showed me where we are now, and it looks like he called it a cistern, a clean cistern. Like cistern, I guess it's, but it was clean. And it looked, you could drink out of it. Before you couldn't get in that water. But I understood where I came from, and how important it is that the words we speak, not just to my wife, but to, in passing, conversations on the phone, even your self-talk is important. So the Lord's trying to bring us into a place of responsibility and sonship. So over this year is going to be about actually moving into that position and being. So we're going to learn how to be sons of God. And out of that being, all of the anointing flows. You can do anything out of that. And we want to help people foster an environment where people can actually come into their being. What it's like for you to be you. Right? You got to be you. Nobody can be. I'm more comfortable just being me, and it's okay being me. And me more than anybody probably understands that it's important to be in an environment where you can you can still express who you are. Be you without it being stifled. Otherwise, you got to be able to take risks. So the Lord's calling us to a risky place. But that's okay. Every time I've stepped out like that, He's never let me down. And especially for us, we're in a season of risk taking, because it's risky to go against the original tradition and what everybody else is doing, the mainstream church. And I love the church. I love the body. I love the people. But we were sleeping at one time, and God is calling us to wake up. And then remember where we came out of, because it wasn't that long ago where I didn't know or wasn't privy to the things that I know now, but it was out of my sheer desperation for truth and for intimacy with the Father that He began to show me some things. And I know that the way I came, if we can help somebody else get there without having to go through the struggles that we did, you can point to this place, that place. Hey, if you come do that, not do the work for you, but show you how you can get the thing that you're striving to get to, the truth that you're trying to get to. Then we want to do that. That's my heart, and that's Father's goal this year. I believe is bringing many into sonship, and that means that we're going to have to go back and revisit Torah. There's a difference between the law that was done away with and the covenant, which still includes, Torah, just not all the junk that the Levitical priesthood added to it. So that's something that's really burning to me now. I'll tell you, if we're going to walk in the order of Melchizedek, you're going to have to go back and visit what is the book of the law and what is the book of the promise. The book of the law was on the outside of the covenant, or the Ark of the Covenant, and the book of the promise was inside. And that's what Jesus died for. Yeshua died for us to come back into the covenant of the promise, not the covenant of the law, or the book of the law, which was given because the children of Israel had the calf thing going. And they thought they were worshiping God, just like we do when we have Christmas trees in our house. We think that we're worshiping God, but it's an abomination to Him. And that may hurt somebody's feelings. If you get trees and eggs, you go to church where there's trees and eggs, then you're an abomination to the Father. And then somebody's got to draw the line. And that's not going to be very popular with very many people, but I'm going to tell you, it's an abomination to the Lord, to our Father, that we celebrate with pagan rituals. Same thing as we brought Egypt with us. You know, and there's really a dividing line right now. The Lord's saying, you're either going to worship me the way I want to be worshipped, you're going to do it the way you think I want to. But if you're intimate with the Father and you get to know Him, then you don't want to do that stuff. So it was, although you coming out of Christmas was kind of hard, because I grew up with a tree and an Easter egg basket, you know. But if you go back and look, it's all tied to paganism. My God. No wonder He's upset. And He's allowed it for a while, but it's time to grow up, right? And take responsibility and be sons. And then somebody's got to be brave enough to stand against the status quo and say, hey, that's not right. And I'll do that. And it's not a popular message, but hey, it's the message that our Father is wanting to get across to the church as He wakes them up and brings them out of Egypt. Because we're no different than the children in Israel. We're reading all those stories, going, oh, those dummies. They saw all of the hand of God moving and they still didn't trust Him. Wow. We're the same dummies. The same thing, there's nothing new under the sun, folks. The same thing that was going on then is going on today. The Lord's trying to bring His church out of Egypt to come across into the promised land. It just means you're coming across where the veil, you're going into the heavens where spirit beings reconnecting to our Father in heaven. And that means you have to unlearn some things, a lot of things. But there's a grace to do that, and then step into the things that are pleasing to Him, that bring life, that bring kingdom. And if you're serious about being a son and doing and following Him and covenant with the Lord, coming back into the original covenant of Abraham, then you'll do these things. If not, you know, we can't force you. But hopefully our lives will show testimony and bear fruit of what it means to be a son. So, and it's not easy, but it certainly is worth it. You know, it's a little bit of work. But I know that anything that you work for, you treasure it more. You know, salvation's free, the rest you can earn. So, I won't get on that horse. You want to add anything to that?
No, but I do feel like there's one thing left to be said.
Go ahead.
I feel it kind of hanging out there, and I just want to do it. Because I feel like, because we went with you as a team, and you were the leader of our team, and it was you that they asked initially to come back because you had plowed the ground there 5 years ago. And I think that I speak for all of us when we say that we feel the honor of being asked to accompany you, and that we're very thankful that you were willing to take the risk to say yes and to invite us to take that risk with you, and that we were very grateful for what you carry in the Spirit, that we were very grateful for who you are, that we felt the presence of God in the words that you spoke, and that we all enjoyed the fellowship of the time that we had together, the perfections and the imperfections, the upgrades and the places where the Lord met us and showed us places where He was going to take us next. And I think that we all do feel that we want to say thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being faithful to the Father. Thank you for saying yes. And just thank you for being who you are, a son who is willing to see the Father's heart and say yes to Him. So I feel that the Father really wants us to acknowledge that place in you. And so we do honor that in you. And we're thankful. We're very thankful that we got to go with you. Okay? So, all right.
I want to thank too, closing on this part, I want to thank the people that made it possible for us to go. Anybody that donated their finances or even prayer, because that all matters. It helps, it enables us to go and do these things. And I know that there's trips that we have ahead of us this year, even this year, that will be going on. And but we can't do it without you. You know, it takes all of us. Not all of us can go, but all of us can sow. So I heard a little saying. It said, don't get a denomination, get a priesthood. So I want to leave that with you guys. We're a priesthood, and that's in the order of Melchizedek. That's a king of righteousness. And it's a totally different walk with the Lord. So it's time to be that, to be what He called us to be, and move in that. So again, thank y'all for allowing, for giving us the opportunity to even go. And I know a lot of you, you used your own finances, and the Lord, it's a sacrifice before the Lord. And when we partner with each other, you have the same reward. If we go, whatever's done is accounted to you also. I see how that works. I've been in, I've seen it in the spirit realm where we've taken offerings, and it still happens today. When I see that when we take an offering, the angels come in, and they got they're recording angels, and they're recording everything that's been given. And I was amazed when that first started happening to me. We were in conferences and hosting some folks, and the angels would come in. So I'd just wait until they were done. I'd wait till they were done, and they left. And I believe the Lord showed me that for a reason, because you have a reward before Him. So don't think that your prayer or your finances, whatever way that you give into trips where people are going, whatever God's called you to help with, that it's not accounted back to you, because He doesn't miss a thing. There was a rock in the basket one time, and I pulled the rock out to put it aside. He's like, "Don't you dare!" I was like, "Whoa!" I guess somebody put the rock in there because that's all they had. But he saw it as an offering. So he doesn't miss anything. Yeah, that really spoke to me. I was like, wow. So it's very careful about that, but we honor those folks that can't go, that make it possible to go, because it takes all of us to do what we do. And I love going and loving on people. It was hard, but I absolutely love seeing somebody's life change. So thank y'all, and thank you.